Hello, beautiful humans. Welcome to Backpacking Barber. So today I have a guest who is here to share his experience as a solo backpacker in everywhere he's been. He's going to let us know about his journey and throw in a few tips for backpackers out there. Yeah, it should really help someone out there. Hi.
Hello.
What's your name and you're welcome?
My name is Erlend. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've been traveling most of my life, on and off. Usually I save money back home, and then I work really hard and save up some money, and then I travel for longer periods of time, just enjoying myself. And I found over time that it's actually not so expensive to backpack, and you can live for a very long time on a very low budget, and still have really nice experiences.
Let me ask you, did you say where you're from?
Norway.
Norway.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let me just ask, did you backpack in Norway or you?
Well, I have traveled around Norway as well. Yeah, with my backpack. My backpack's been many places. Yeah.
Awesome. So when was the first time you came into Africa?
To Africa?
Yes.
Well, I've been to Morocco before and Tunisia, but this is the first time I'm traveling in like East Africa and down to South Africa. Yeah.
Oh. So like how many countries you've been in Africa?
Oh.
If you can.
Not that many actually, like maybe 4 or 5. But I've been to almost 90 countries, like
90 countries
worldwide. Yeah. Mostly I've been traveling around in Latin America and Asia and Europe. Yeah.
So how has it been like traveling alone? Do you think it's better than in a group? Is it more efficient? Is it?
Well, generally I say I never travel with more than 3 people. That 3 people is too many. Or like even more than that is too many, because like people want different things, and you have to compromise. But there are benefits with being more people as well. And sometimes with more people you can get certain discounts, like let's say if you take a taxi or certain guest houses. But generally traveling alone, like the less people you travel with, the more people you meet. And also like when you're traveling alone, you can spend as much time as you want to in each place, and you don't have to
like rush yourself because of your friends and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And people fight, you know, like if you date someone, then you meet once in a while, or if you even if you are married with someone, you go to your work and you get a break. But when you're traveling, you're stuck on top of each other all the time. So it's very difficult to find someone that you can. But there are people that you can match with and travel with together for a long time. But like I've met people who were best friends, and then they're not friends anymore after traveling.
Yeah.
But
wow, I understand.
Yeah. But I found people that I could travel with long term, and we really had a great time together. But then.
So as a solo backpacker, like how do you get information of places where you want to stay, and how is that experience for you? Like trying to find a cheap hostel, or like places like to hang out at, to experience like different cities. Yeah, like moving around, usually like what are your most quick tips, or maybe sites or things you go and just know that in this place I can find such information?
Well, I think everything starts with hostels actually. I think like when I first started traveling when I was like 18 or something, now I'm like 32. Like if you go to a place, you don't really need that many plans. You don't need to know that much, because when you arrive in a social hostel where there's many people you can meet, you can always get good tips and information from them. So like sometimes I'll just go to a country that I know nothing about, and then everything will just work itself out.
True.
But after being in many hostels and talking to many people in hostels, like I found so many ways to live like budget friendly. Like we were talking about yesterday, how while traveling, if locals can manage on a low budget, so can you.
Yes,
so
true.
like trying to copy what the locals are doing is a good way of traveling low budget. I mean, like if the locals can do it, so can you. And but there's also of course a lot of very advantageous websites and apps like couchsurfing, where you can stay at people's houses for free, like surfing on their couch. And you can also host people at your home. and Workaway, where you can like find jobs where you get food and accommodation included, where you can work in hostels and guest houses, and all these kind of things. But just remember that if you're doing a volunteer job in a country on a tourist visa and you're entering the country, never tell the visa guy, never tell him you're going to do volunteering, because then you won't get a visa, because technically you need a business visa to do volunteering jobs. So I met some travelers who were they didn't really think very thoroughly, and they told the visa guys that they're going to do volunteering. If somebody says, so what is your purpose here, and you should say tourism. If you say, I'm going to do some volunteering, they're not going to let you in. So that's good to know as well.
That's really good. I also didn't know that. I thought it should be like, oh, you're gonna come in and help us, help the kids, help this. Which I thought
technically volunteering is illegal if you don't have a tourist visa, but nobody's gonna catch you or do anything. But if you say it when they're asking you at the border control, then you can be denied. So I'd say that's a good advice. If you do use Workaway, Workpackers, those kind of pages, and then that's for like work and stuff, and then there's woofing, also working in farms, and sometimes there's couchsurfing to stay at people's couches, and there's trust routes, and then there's many other ones that you can check out if you just Google like couchsurfing pages or similar things.
Couchsurfing is really, really legit. I think most people should be aware of it, to ignore like trying to spend money on accommodation. But I want you to also kind of like tell us about your experience with Workaway. Like how has it been you trying to get gigs, and how did you like get your membership, applying for Workaway, and working like on your experiences with different gigs you got through like your backpacking, and when you started Workaway, working with them, and the jobs that interested you were interested in, and how has it been like the journey with Workaway?
Really amazing, actually. So you have to pay like a membership fee, but the different like volunteering pages, some of them have a higher fee and some of them have lower ones. I think Workaway is a bit higher priced than Workpackers, but like I like Workaway. I like the page. You can also check out the jobs before you pay, so that you can't apply to the jobs unless you pay, but you can check out if there's anything you want. So like for example, me, I'm always interested in learning how the things I like are made. So for example, I love wine. So I went to a winery and made wine for a month in Argentina. That was amazing. And like you meet so many interesting people. There was like 2 Michelin chefs that worked there as volunteers, so they were making food every day. So I got like the best gourmet food for free, and we could drink a bottle of wine every day. We just walked out like to the tank, poured like a bottle of wine. Oh, it was so good.
Damn, that was fun.
And then in Peru, I was staying in a place up in the mountains, and we were creating an oasis in the desert mountains of Coroico in Peru. It's like out in nowhere, but like less than a kilometer away from the place we were creating this oasis, there was this thermal waters and waterfalls, and they were like really hot, nice thermal water, and it was for free entrance. So like I would go there every night after work and look at the stars and float around in the warm water. It was just, I've had some really amazing experiences.
All free. That was all free.
Everything was for free. Got food, got accommodation, but I mean you work.
I understand.
But it's usually about 5 hours a day, Monday to Friday. Sometimes you can do a hostel job where like sometimes you do like 3 days or 4 days a week, but very often hostel works don't usually include food but accommodation. So like if you're traveling to a city that's slightly expensive, you can like work in a hostel. Like working in a hostel is also a great way to meet people, and you know, I find many people, they ask me like, tell me if you want to find out about things, ask the locals. But actually sometimes if you're in a country where the locals don't travel that much, I actually find that sometimes it's actually better to ask the travelers than the locals. And so if you're staying in a hostel or working in a hostel, you get just great advice. Like sometimes, like for example, me myself, I'm in my own country. There are things that are close to my hometown that I never visited because I knew it was always there, but I never went. And it's the same. I think that's the same for everyone. And so, but when you meet the travelers, they're always looking to do those things. That's why they're there. So,
they know all these places, all these spots, all these cheap hostels and neighborhoods. Oh, nice.
Yeah, so sometimes I base my whole journey on the advice I get from people I meet on the way.
Yeah.
And also, first-hand experience is better than what you read online. You can't trust everything that tour agencies or stuff say. Like, basically, yeah, that's another advice. If you can avoid using a tourist agency, it's the best.
Anyways, they charge you money for literally, I won't say much, but I think what you're saying is really the best way to get information, like interacting with fellow travelers. Like also me, when I was on the Tazara train, I didn't know nothing, but like I met people who were going almost to the same location, and then when we were on the train, we all booked the same hostel. That's how I ended up here, knowing about this place, but I didn't know about this hostel because I don't know, for some reason I wasn't online and I could not access internet. And then I had to rely on the other travelers that are also going to Zambia, you know.
Yeah.
So I think it's the best way to say it. Okay, my next question maybe would be like, what kind of advice would you give to like solo female backpackers in terms of generally, like, you know, I know it's a little bit different for men. Like you a little bit have this privilege to walk around anywhere and like feel safe in spaces, but what would you think if you were a female? What would you think you would go about it, like in terms of being safe and having the fun and visiting the same places like men do? Yeah.
Well, I have met, for example, I met a girl that traveled from Canada down to Argentina, all the way through all the countries in the Americas, just by hitchhiking. And I asked her like, are you not scared sometimes? Are you not worried? And she said, for example, one advice, especially when it comes to hitchhiking, is that like she will hitchhike, and then if the car stops, and she asks them where they're going, and they're not saying where they're going, or they're like, oh, I don't know where you're going, like that's a bad sign. Yeah, so she'll ask them where they're going, and then she'll see if it's the same way, or like if like she'll check them out, look at them, kind of like analyze, is this a trustworthy person? Yeah. Because if they will say like, oh, we can take it there, even if it's like off the way that she's going, like straight away, that's like a bad sign.
True. I could imagine. I remember I also asked when we were hitchhiking, like we're just telling them like, oh, can you drop us to this place? Can you take us to this place? Can you take us to this place and stuff? But then if someone is dangerous and they know that's where you're trying to go, it's easy for them to like get you into some trouble for sure.
She also said that if the person she's with starts to talk about something like flirty, she immediately starts to asking about his family. Does he have children? Does he have a wife? Like to try to like divert the conversation that way. But yeah, she was a pretty tough girl, but she wasn't really big, you know. But she was a badass. Like, but I met many.
Spirit, I guess.
Yeah, I met a girl here bicycling also through Africa from.
On a bike.
Yeah, a girl. Like,
bicycle.
Yeah, bicycle. Traveling and camping everywhere on the way, and I asked her like, how's it been, and she says,
she's
it's
from where
okay.
again?
Yeah. She was Dutch, I think, or British maybe. I don't remember.
Wow.
I only met her one day, but she was pretty cool. She was pretty badass as well, fixing her own bike on the way and like making her way. But she was a young, pretty blonde girl traveling through Africa just alone, and she was fine so far. But yeah, I also met this Spanish couple that was traveling through Africa on bicycles. And they said they didn't have that many problems, but they said in Ethiopia there was a little bit of a problem with kids throwing rocks and pushing them off their bikes.
Damn, that's rude. That was so rude.
But generally, but they were still happy, you know. They were still enjoying. I think that's also a kind of a skill of a backpacker that's traveled for a long time, to be able to like kind of let things go. When you have disagreements with people. Yeah,
you don't want to start trouble, fight with the locals.
No. But I think generally, as a female traveler, I think you can travel most of the same places as men, but I think you just have to be more careful and maybe like try not to be alone. But the thing is, you know, when I'm traveling alone, I'm never alone. Yeah. Like you always meet people to hang around with. Yeah. So like if you're a girl, like very easily you find friends in hostels.
I think also with about meeting people, like you should just read people's energies. Like you can see that someone wants to flirt with you, literally. So you just avoid that person, because someone sometimes like a dude can come to you and they want maybe something like to steal your shit or some shit, and then they come with this energy or they're trying to flirt with you and blah blah blah, confuse you, or yet it's some other kind of shit. They're trying to get you into some other trouble to steal your stuff. So I think you can read someone's energy and be like, no, like what are we even talking about? You understand? If you're not like helping me, then I don't think I need you anyway. So yeah, I think you just have to be a little bit more keen and pay attention to these small details. Someone is talking too much to you like first day, they know everything in the city. Why, so you question everything. So yesterday we also talked about how it's expensive to like make these trips in Africa comparing to the other places you've been to. I wanted you to a little bit enlighten about that, because it was interesting, like, to know, me as an African, like, I know we struggle, like, with, I don't know many Africans, like, traveling around African shit like that, but usually it's mainly the part of getting a visa to these other places, like Europe, the visa part. But when you get there, it's cheaper, you understand? Like, let's say India and blah, 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 like you said. So, like, enlighten a little bit about that whole experience comparing to how much you would spend, let's say, in places you were, like in South Asia and where else, cheaper places, right? Comparing to, like, places here in Africa, spending, like, in, let's say, in Tanzania, Nairobi, like, hostel fees and stuff like that. Explain, better.
Yeah, usually, like, the easiest way to travel, I find, is to travel very slowly, because then you learn the local places, you learn the local prices, and you start like figuring out like where you can go without having to spend that much money and having the same experiences for a lower price. So that's the way I've been traveling most of my life, like in Asia, Latin America, and Europe. And usually I'll find that I can, for example, climb amazingly high mountains, like for a very low price. And just because I hang around until I find out how I can do it without having to pay unnecessary. But what I found in Africa was that it's actually quite difficult to do anything here unless you pay the government some kind of strange fees. That you don't have this kind of like entry fees and like park fees in most places actually. So for example, the Kilimanjaro was so I paid about $1,500 to climb Kilimanjaro, and it's like 5,900 or 5,800 meters. While I climbed in Bolivia, I climbed the mountain for $80. That was higher than Kilimanjaro. In Nepal, I paid like $50, and I could hike for like as many days as I wanted up in the mountains. And many places I can go myself. I don't need to go with the guide. And so what I found in Africa is that it seems like the governments are putting very unnecessary charges, and it makes it really difficult for backpacking. So, like for example, in Tanzania, I noticed that there was a high tourist tax for each hotel and hostel and guest house. They had to pay the government, and so, for example, in Peru, I would be paying $2 or $3 a night, and in Nepal as well, in India, there's many countries you pay like very little per day, while I found that in Tanzania and Kenya the prices were quite high, but if a hostel costs $10 and they have to pay $4 or $5 to the government, then the hostel is stuck with just $5. So,
I know, right?
So actually, for the whole world, or like those places that I've been, Africa has been the most expensive place to travel, because the government, they seem to cater for high-end tourism and not people who spend, not like backpackers who spend locally. But it does seem like there is that backpacking is becoming more popular and is becoming more accessible. At least I've been to a couple of new hostels while being here, like that was newly opened. And generally, like traveling from hostel to hostel, you meet great people. People are usually nervous about staying with other people in hostels. They're like, when they stay at the first one, they usually change their mind, because they're like, wow, this is great. Oh, I was so scared about sleeping in a room with other people.
Yeah,
but then they get so used to it so fast.
I was a little bit scared at first, and like, you know, like sometimes then I'm like in a dorm with just boys, you know. So I'm like, okay, is it really really safe? But then it is, because you know the hostel makes sure like you actually comfortable and you paid your money, so nothing can really happen. You be safe. Yeah, I think if you're not very luxurious, like you need a lot of privacy or some fancy kind of thing, really.
But I think also when it comes to privacy, I find that people in hostels are quite understanding that when you need your alone time, like people are very good at picking up the signals and they leave you alone. And there's also, if people want to have the social experience of a hostel, they can still stay in a private room and then go to the social areas, and then because many hostels have private rooms as well. But yeah, so like even if I was a billionaire, I'd still stay in hostels. I really would, like because like sometimes I'll go to a place and I meet no people, but if I stay in a hostel, 100% I'll meet a lot of people with great advice, and yeah. But yeah, I kind of derailed from what I was talking about. But yeah, traveling in the world is really cheap, more cheap than like Africa has so far been the most expensive continent. But I guess the difficult thing, and it's easy for me to say, that like I could just go there because most countries are visa free for me because of my passport. So I don't know how it is like with an African visa, like passport. So I can't say. Because I don't know how, but I guess that if you just Google like visa-free countries for Africans, I'm sure there are some countries you can go.
Some countries
that are pretty low
budget, and some have opened up their borders like this year.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of doing some more research.
Well, from the people that I learned most about like budget traveling was actually Argentinians. Argentinians in South America. Like Argentina is a country that has a long history of political unrest and corruption and like the high inflation. But like Argentinians, if you go to South America or Central America, Mexico, they are everywhere, and they travel with no money. They hitchhike, they camp, they sell they make like necklaces and like bracelets and they sell them, and they'll work in hostels. They'll do workaways. They'll like try to get people to come into bars and restaurants. They'll sell these homemade little cookies that they walk around with. They'll sell peanut butter. They'll sell chocolate, and they manage, and they're really enjoying themselves. Like sometimes you meet so many at the beaches just chilling at the sunset, and they manage. It's the thing is, in many places, people really welcome travelers and understand that like not everybody has that much money. It seems to be like a common perception here in Africa that all white people are rich.
Yeah.
And so when people hear, like for example, if I say, "Oh, for me that's such a high price," people are really like surprised because they think that I can afford anything.
True.
But really, like for me, I think paying more than $2 for a waterfall is ridiculous. I mean, it's nature; it should be free for all. Yeah. And also, like even in my own country, it's a very expensive country. At least it used to be. But all nature is for free. There's nothing you need to pay. So if you come to my country with a tent, you can literally just go camping wherever you want. Yeah, and you go to the supermarket, buy something, you buy some pasta and some cheap stuff. You can easily manage on very low budget, even in my country. So it's just about finding the way. Finding the way. Yeah, and meeting the right people. And usually people do. I met people bicycling around my country, going hiking mountain. Didn't spend any money. Yeah.
Okay, maybe I would just ask a very simple question, like what kind of maybe like simple skills like a backpacker should just have within, like a few things to get on the road and just like survive whatever is coming.
Things to bring?
Yeah, like skills, let's say communicating, or maybe like they should maybe have this attitude of like researching so much. They should be maybe hardworking, or I don't know, like some soft skills.
Well, I think being understanding.
For your on your journey, what do you think are those some of the skills you learned on the road? Let's say cooking, like trying to learn a new language, like being so open-minded. Yeah, what would be that thing you think it's really essential, like for a backpacker?
Well, I think patience. Yeah, and humbleness. Yeah, you don't want to go into a temple in India and like do something that people don't accept. or make fun of, or like, I mean, just being open-minded is a good skill.
Self-control, I think.
Yeah,
having some self-control, because I'm thinking like if let's say like some things are not allowed in a country, and you may be someone who drinks so much or smokes ganja, something, you know. So it's like you have to have self-control and maintain your addictions or something.
Yeah, people should, I mean, try to be respectful. But I mean, it is a problem with like drug tourism. There's a lot of places, drug and sex tourism. But I mean, there's bad people everywhere, but like try not to be one. Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, I think patience is very important. And I don't know. I'm not sure what skills. I think Google Maps skills. Yeah, Maps Me. Yeah, that's another thing. Like if you want to do routes by yourself, like very often there's routes, like hiking routes on maps.me, and it's a good app to have. If you travel with a camper van or like or camping in general, there's one called iOverlander, where you can find free campsites around.
Okay.
Learning how to use Google Maps, like it's very important. And you can also download maps on Google Maps, actually, when you have Wi-Fi. That's good to use. And Maps.me also downloads maps automatically, so that when you arrive in a place, you're not lost when you first arrive. But I mean, there's also people who travel without a phone, which is like more adventurous, but I'm a bit lazy.
That's a bit tricky. Yeah.
But I think, like, for example, there was one guy who told me one time that, I have a Spanish friend, and he's a crazy traveler. Like he's been everywhere, and he travels without money, and he's like traveled on a horse through South America, and he's like a crazy guy, you know.
Wow, that's fun.
But this guy, I said to him, like, you hitchhike so much. Like, don't you get sick of like standing in the sun sweaty, and then you go in somebody's car and you have to talk even if you're tired, just to kind of please the other person? And he said, well, I'm not comfortable all the time, but think about people who go to work all the time, their whole life, who's complaining about their job, hating their life, getting up early in the morning and just like, I'm so, like, it's not like they're that much comfortable. And he said that all of these people who have that kind of life, very often they worry so much. They worry like about my security, about my house, about my wife. And then he says that he has none of those things. He has none of those things, but he doesn't worry about anything. He just like, sometimes he's a bit tired, but he says that he doesn't worry about anything. So these guys, maybe they worry about they will lose their house, and maybe there will be an economic like crash, and they will lose their house, and then he'll swoop in and steal their wives. That's what he says.
Oh wow, nice.
So
let me ask, how long have you been like traveling off like from home? When you left home, how many years now?
So I've been traveling on and off, but the longest time I left without returning to my country was 5 years. And before that I was a flight attendant for 5 years. So even then when I was working, I was never home. And then when I quit, I was not home at all. So you just quit
your job just like that?
Yeah, like I did it for 5 years, and in the end I was starting to get a bit bored, because when I was a flight attendant I would always travel a lot, but I would be short times at each place, and I was like tired of like just getting a hint of it. So I wanted the whole cake. Yeah, so I just quit, and then I traveled for 5 years. And the funny thing is, when I quit, many of my colleagues, they said to me, you can't quit your job, like if you might not get a job when you come back. But then like 4 or 3 years into my journey, after I quit my job, Corona happened. And for airline companies, that meant a lot of people lost their job. So I probably would have lost my job anyways. So, So I did, that was 5 years. And then now I'm doing like 9 months in Africa. I think.
Would you change anything? Would you change anything, or you like?
My life?
Yeah. Like, would you change? Do you think there's a thing you would change about it, or you feel like it's the best decision you did for yourself by then?
Or quitting my job then? Oh, it was the best. I was so happy. Yeah, and I think things come naturally. Like if your body is like, if you're getting depressed and like your mind is screaming like I can't be here anymore, like why should you suffer your whole life through a job you don't like? Because there are options out there and possibilities. And I know that it's easy to say that as a white man from like a first world country, but I have met people who come from like humble places who did really good. Like I think
it's fear, just knowing that how am I going to live without a job? You understand? It's that big fear of not knowing how to make the money without having a full-time job where you're getting paid, you're getting served food, breakfast is,
Like I'm not the best example because I usually manage to have savings. Like I work and then I save and then I travel. So when I work, I have no life. When I work, I don't go to restaurants. I don't go to Starbucks and get that fancy coffee. I don't go out. I don't do anything fun. I just work.
Social life.
Work all the time, save money, and then I go. But and then when I go, I enjoy myself. But I think that's
Okay.
I don't know. I think I derailed so much. I don't know. Lose the track.
Nope. It was great. Unless, do you have any other thing you wanna share, maybe? Anything. It could be a life lesson. It could be just, places you would be like, guys, you should check out this, or you should try this out. Like, it's really amazing. Yeah.
Well, I think, I would really recommend people to visit Latin America. Yeah, people there are so nice. Well, people steal a lot there, but they are so nice. Except for the fact that you have to watch your phone. The ambience and the people and the music and the dancing, it's just so amazing. And also some of those places are really cheap with amazing nature. Salar de Uyuni in Bolivia, you should check that out. It's
what's the name again?
Salar de Uyuni.
Tag it on the screen.
Salar de Uyuni in Bolivia. It's really amazing. It looks like you're out in space. There's this huge sea of salt, and then when it rains, it creates a thin film on top of the salt that mirrors the sky. So the sky looks like the ground. So it looks like you're in the sky, in the clouds. It's really beautiful. And there's a big island there with huge cactuses bigger than houses. And then there's these rock formations. And there's this area where Salvador Dali got his inspiration to paint the painting with all the clocks, because it just looks really surrealistic, the nature there. And there's geysers and thermal waters. And when I was there, but it was 4 years ago, I paid $80 for 3 days out there. And I saw these amazing things, and it was food included, hotels included, everything included. It was really great. Salar de Uyuni is a cool place. And also Nepal in the Everest area, and Annapurna, it's really beautiful. And of course India is quite amazing, kind of like a shock in, it's very congested and people yelling and colorful and spices, but it's nice to be in places that kind of challenges your gray daily life,
Yeah.
So Africa as well, though, it's very colorful. Clothing very colorful, very cool. Yeah. There's a lot of tribes here. I find that very fascinating. People living in an old type of way. Yeah. So had some great experiences here as well. Yeah.
How do you I don't know if you date, but how is the dating life as a solo backpacker? Do you just give it up?
Well, I get lonely sometimes. Yeah. I had relationships while traveling, also long distance ones. I was in a relationship for 1.5 years with a Mexican girl that I met first in Mexico, and then she visited me in Norway when I was back, and then then we were together for 1 month, and then we traveled for 2 months in Eastern Europe. And I think it works, but many people, they dream of finding a fellow traveler that you can travel with.
Oh yeah.
But it's difficult to find somebody who has the same interests as you, and also wants to travel the same way as you, or in the economic or comfortable way as you, because some people have higher comfort expectations, or on a higher budget or a lower budget and lower comfort. So it's a bit complicated. But I met some couples that stayed together their whole life traveling and had great lives, and I've had relationships as well that I enjoy. But traveling a long time, you do get lonely. So I find that a lot of female travelers who travel their whole life, they kind of just switch partners whenever.
Oh, I think
I'd rather have a long term with one girl than just switch around. But I find that the other girls that are in the same situation as me,
They want to switch around.
Yeah, because I think that because when they're traveling around and they're so free, they feel a bit empowered, and I think they don't feel the need to have like one serious relationship just because they can move around. But I met girls who I traveled with, and we had great times. Yeah, so it's definitely possible. Okay. And hostels are a great place to meet people.
Yeah.
The longest relationship I had was for 3 years with a German girl that I met in a hostel in Riga. The hostel was called the Naughty Squirrel.
3 years together?
Yeah. So we met there, and then I visited her in Germany. Then she came and visited me in Norway later. And then in the end, I ended up moving to her in Germany while working for the airline. So I was like commuting in between Germany and Norway for a few years. And that was a great relationship until she wanted kids. And then it didn't work because I wanted to keep traveling. Yeah. So, but but the backpacker life is it's very easy to meet people. It's everybody's in the same situation. Everybody's enjoying. Everybody's happy. When you're back home, people are just like suffering.
I know.
Not every day,
everyone, jobs, and everybody has to work and worry about keeping your partners. Shoot, come on.
I think it's easier to see the best side of someone when they're enjoying themselves.
True.
But of course, like traveling or backpacking, sometimes you're really tired and really hungry, and like out in nowhere. And you have to try to keep.
To keep.
That's a good advice, I think. To keep. If you're about to fight, wait until you've eaten or slept. Just try to like delay the fight, because then it's never gonna happen. It's just because you're tired sometimes, you know.
Or hungry.
Yeah, hungry. Yeah, like hungry.
Yeah. Oh wow. Thank you for accepting to do this.
Thank you.
And. I'm grateful that we did this, and I hope it's gonna help anyone out there maybe who's gonna watch. So thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice to meet you.
I hope it helps someone.
Yeah, it will. Probably we shall catch up on maybe more, if you need to share any kind of journey, lessons, And I feel like you have a lot maybe to share. We can keep talking about it. Yeah.
One more thing I remembered. Better to use buses and local transportation than taking planes and taxis. Planes and taxis are unnecessary money, and also you see less of the country.
Yeah.
Like going with the local transportation on land, you see more.